From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayua, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation.
I just want to encourage you, nyinyi watu wa Mombasa, tunataka kuimarisha chama chetu ya ODM. We want the chama to continue. We want the chama to be strong, and we would like chama to go on the table of negotiations with order when it is together and it is strong and it is one. And you must increase numbers by registering more members of ODM. You must increase numbers by registering more members of ODM, and the youth of Mombasa must register. When negotiations come, the cause will be fully represented by all the leaders, including Samad and including representatives of Hassan Joho. All of them will be there on the table to negotiate with us. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki watu wa ODM. Asante sana.
At the negotiation table, the NGC unanimously supports the pre-election negotiations spearheaded by our party leader, Dr. Oburu Odinga. Additionally, the Youth League requests the party to accommodate at least 2 youths nationally from the party at the negotiation table ahead of 2027 general election.
Na tuko na ndugu ya baba mkubwa ambaye ndiye alikuwa anatembea na baba siku zote. Ndugu ya baba Dr. Oburu Oginga, yeye ndio alikuwa akizungumza na baba, na kabla baba afanye chochote walikuwa wanashauriana na Dr. Oburu Oginga. Na sisi tumesema kuendelea mbele, kiongozi wetu ni Dr. Oburu Oginga, na akisema left tunaenda hivi.
Siko nyumbani. Hapa ni wapi? Na nyinyi ni kina nani? Nyinyi ni nani? Nataka mseme wasikie nyinyi ni kina nani? Walisema hatuingii hapa. Wametutisha mpaka wanatufuata, wanatuandama kama wanyama. Nataka niseme mambo mawili. Kule Kitengela waliua ndugu yetu mmoja miaka 28 anaitwa Vincent. Nataka DJ kwa heshima ya wewe kijana anaitwa Vincent, tutachapa stanza moja ya wimbo wa taifa. Naomba nipatiwe bendera yangu. DJ, nataka sisi sote kwa heshima ya wewe shujaa anaitwa Vincent tupige stanza moja ya Kiswahili kwa wimbo wa taifa wa Kenya. Twende kazi DJ.
Vijana power! Vijana Kaleba music power! Hayawi! Hapa ni wapi? Tumefika hatujafika. Walituwekea gunzo na gani wanatuweza? Wanaweza? Wangapi wanasema hawawezi? Wacha niwaambie mambo matatu peke yake. Vijana timu, wacha niwaambie jambo tatu peke yake. Kila siku wanatuambia ya kwamba hawataki maandamano. Niwaulize vijana, nini ilitoa wazungu Kenya? Nini ilileta
Kakamega? Wacha niwaambie, kama kuna watu wanaume na wanawake ni Kakamega, muogopi tear gas. Nataka niwaambie hivi, hapa Kakamega tuko na kitu inaitwa dhahabu. Sema dhahabu. kuna. Ili ndio tunaongea mambo ya chama. Na nasema leo hapa Kakamega, hii vuguvugu ambao nimeona hapa Kakamega itaenda mpaka Pwani, itaenda Turkana, itaenda Mombasa, itaenda Kisumu.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Patricia Wayua, and this is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
Let me also admit to go on record, I've not joined TikTok because I've been told it's bad. So I will need to sit with my young adult children to show me how to use it without hurting me or damaging my mind.
I just wanted to say that even if you see the way this has now been spoken about the Russian person case, Madam Speaker, it also brings the issues of racism, because we need to speak to such issues, because there are people who want to exploit the vulnerability of poor African people by coming in here, seeing that women are so poor. People are thinking, and then because we have not nurtured and trained our people, that we are beautiful enough as black people, the moment you see a white person, you think that they are heaven on earth. And I want to challenge our women that we need to see our men in Kenya as good enough. Why we look at men in Africa, see them as good enough? Not everybody who is white is heaven on earth. I'm not saying white people, there's something wrong with white people, but we need to guard against certain forms of neo-colonization, where people come here and ridicule and shame African women.
We still have a deficit in infrastructure. We still don't have enough roads. We don't have a good airport. Our railway is not complete. Our ports are not proper. We need to invest close to 1.5 trillion shillings to do our roads and our other infrastructure. Many of you mtashangaa hii pesa itatoka wapi? Mungu atatupatia. We are going to get money to transform this nation.
Na sio ati tunaogopa uchaguzi, sio ati tunaogopa siasa. Sisi ambao unaona, sisi ndio mafundi wa siasa. Lakini tunaelewa majira. Mwanasiasa ambaye ni amekomaa anaelewa timing. Anajua siku ya kazi na siku ya kampeni. Anajua siku ya mwananchi na siku ya kiongozi. Si namna hiyo? Kura inapigiwa wananchi ama inapigiwa viongozi? Si ni sisi tunapigiwa kura? Si siku yetu itafika huko mbele 2027? Hiyo siku haijafika. Sasa this is not the time for politics, for campaign. It is premature. Hata ukijaribu kufanya campaign sahi utaumia, my friend. Utachoka kabla ya wakati. Relax. Tushughulikie barabara, tushughulikie maji, tushughulikie miarero, tushughulikie masoko. Siku ya kampeni ikifika, kila mtu apande jukwaa ajieleze ile kazi amefanya. Kazi yako ndio itakuokoa kiongozi, hautaokolewa na kitu kingine. Kama hujafanya kazi utakanyanga nje. Kama umefanya kazi, mwananchi hata kama amekuwa ameambiwa nini, kazi yako ikionekana kama kiongozi, wewe utaendelea. Ni fire si fire, ni noma si noma, ni kweli si kweli, ni kweli si kweli. So sisi sio ati tunaogopa campaign, ati tunaogopa siasa. That time is coming and we are ready, more than ready. Na sisi ni mafundi. Usione vile tumekimya hivi ufikiri sisi ni kumbavu. Sisi tumekuwa hii town kwa muda, more than ready. Na sisi ni mafundi. Usione vile tumekimya hivi ufikiri sisi ni kumbavu. Sisi tumekuwa hii town kwa muda na tumefanya mambo ingine mingi na tukafaulu. hata siku ya kampeni hapo mbele tutafaulu. Sisi ndio mafundi wa hii biashara. Niendelee nisiendelee? Niendelee nisiendelee? Mimi nataka watu ya Nyeri mniambie, saa hii tuko na governor wetu hapa, tuko na women rep, tuko na senator, tuko na wabunge, tuko na MCAs. Hii serikali, sisi watu ya mlima, sisi ndio tulichagua hii serikali na fujo.
I Betty Odinga. I Betty Odinga, do swear that the information I shall give before this Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on the matters under its consideration shall be truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you. Sit down. May I have a seat?
This is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation.
Oh yes, good evening and welcome to today's show. That is the Generation Report that comes from 7 p.m. All the way to 10 p.m. right here on Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. Remember, in Nairobi it is 88.8, in Mombasa it is 90.7, and all the way to Garissa and its environs it is 89.5. You can as well follow the conversations that are happening here right on our social media platforms. We are talking about our Facebook, our Instagram, our YouTube, and even the X platform that is at Radio Gen KE. You can as well follow it on our digital platform that is rgk.co.ke. This week a lot has really happened, and that is what we shall be looking at in our conversations tonight. And of course I have a series of guests in the studio, but before we get to the part of the guest, of course I am joined by one of my colleagues in the news department. I know you've seen the ladies, so tonight I am privileged to be joined by a male colleague, and he has a lot to converse around in this conversation. So karibuni sana pali popote mnapotegea kipindi ambacho kinaanza sasa hivi. Tunawakaribisha sana kwenye hichi kipindi. Na ndugu yangu, karibu sana.
Thank you Patricia for having me.
Yes.
I'm really I appreciate for coming here to discuss what I have already experienced in the past 1 week that I have been to Northern Kenya.
Yes.
If I say that there are so many things I have experienced, and I cannot even simply say one or two, but as we go on, I will try to.
You're going to unleash.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can just introduce yourself to the viewers, to the listeners, because this is your first time that we are hosting the show together with you.
Okay. I'm Abdisamad Loge, a reporter and a producer at Radio Generation Kenya. Actually, I have went to cover a certain story about the drought crisis in Northern Kenya. Everybody and almost all of us know that there has been drought crisis in Northern Kenya that is really happening till today. As you all know, that the drought in Northern Kenya, or probably drought, mostly in northern part of the country. And when I talk about the northern part, I simply not mean only northeastern. It includes from the far end of Mandera up to Turkana. So that is it. And if I say and talked about the situation in northern Kenya is dire and deteriorating day by day. There has not been rain for the past 2 to 3 years.
So you just hold on there. We just start this thing because we have been talking about drought. in the arid and semi-arid lands, and also some other parts in southeastern and other regions. Yeah, we are talking about droughts. So I just want us to give us a step by step, because when we are talking about droughts, sometimes people don't understand, not until somebody who has been there is able to narrate the whole story. So I just want you to tell us, okay, first of all, what made you go to Northeastern to just go and cover that story?
Okay, thank you, Patricia. There's the crisis that has prompted me to go there is a real issue happening. I come from northern Kenya, and I have been hearing, whether it is by visual or by words, that the situation was deteriorating day by day.
Sure.
So I decided to take up a decision that if the situation there is dire, and there are few, whether it is by media or the government or any other stakeholders are not talking about, then why don't you take up your tools, report from there, show the people what is actually happening there. Because if you don't see something, it is just a story to you.
Yeah.
But when you actually experience and see it with your own eyes, it's a bit different. And what prompted me there what prompted me actually, I have seen with my own eyes, is the reason behind I went.
You going there, yeah? Yeah, because, okay, you've said that you are from Northeastern. And of course, I know did you school in Northeastern?
Yeah.
Or here in Nairobi?
Yeah, no, I have never. I spent Northeastern for my entirely almost 20 years.
Oh, okay. You spent your 20 years
in Northeastern, meaning
in Northeastern.
I went to school, primary school there, secondary school there.
Yeah,
but
sure.
when it comes to university, I went in Nairobi.
Yeah, so my question is the situation the same as what you've maybe experienced before? Like now that you went there and covered a story, which of course it's a whole documentary that we're gonna be publishing next week. So what did you witness? Is it quite different from what you've experienced before?
For someone who comes from those areas with such harsh climatic conditions, it's not a new thing.
It's not a new thing.
It's not a new thing.
Yes.
The drought is cyclic. It has been happening for the years, but this time round it is different. Because you see, in the past years, you might find that it does not rain for it does not rain for a year, maybe. But this time round, it is past 3 years. It has not rained well.
Okay.
So you see, there's a difference right now. So if there's that difference, and those people have been forgotten there, those people who live there are pastoralists. They live and rely on livestock entirely. And you can imagine someone whose only livelihood has taken away by the deepening drought crisis and the biting drought. So you find that if the only source of livelihood was maybe livestock like goats, like cows, like camels, and you witness that they are dying in front of your own eyes. I will detail. I have with my own eyes witnessed that after trying to help a cow who was unable to stand due to the feebleness, after a few minutes it died. And it's like that. That's just a story that we witnessed. What about what we don't see? Because we went there for some time and went back. So that is it. And the livelihood there, people keep their animals like camels, cows, and goats. And goats are the weakest, and the cows. But for camels, they are resilient, more resilient enough, and they can stand and able to endure a drought. Although this time round, even them,
it has been quite severe.
It has been quite severe. Yeah.
Okay, so now I just want to understand in terms of agriculture. Before, how has it really been performing?
Agriculture.
Yes. The farming of crops and
people have not embraced agriculture, and the problem they did was that they should have earlier embraced agriculture, whether it's a dry land farming,
yes,
or crop farming. But they have not embraced anything. They only depended and relied on livestock, and has not alternatively changed to any source of to any other source of keeping. So, and for agriculture, it might for livestock, for agriculture, it might seem that because agriculture depends on the irrigation maybe, and there must be availability of water in the area. That area, entirely northern part of the country, what you don't know, Patricia, is a vast land, a dry vast land. And you keep on hearing day by day that Northeastern is marginalized. Let me not get into the marginalization. I mean, by the vast area, even the government are not able to help them embrace famine.
Okay, let me cut you short and then ask about because do you think the leaders from Northeastern are really doing enough? Because having stayed there, having been born there, raised up in that same place, and now the coming of devolution, I want to believe that maybe there are some things that they would have started initiating. Do you think they have done enough? Especially with the marginalization funds. The equalization fund, yes.
There is equalization funds. The devolution was brought in order the devolution was actually brought to equalize the marginalized areas to the other parts of the country.
Yeah, to bring the services
closer
to the people.
But that's not happening. Although I hope that you've seen governors being questioned about how
I have seen
they have neglected their own people, how they have used the money that was meant to the innocent people in northern Kenya. I'm not criticizing them, and I have to criticize them in one way or another. One is that northern leaders are not actually to the task to help their own people. Because if they have, there is a disaster. The drought is a disaster, and there is there are funds there allocated for them. What do you think these people are being questioned on if they haven't used the marginalization fund, the funds meant to cater for the drought? Okay, these people have somehow neglected their own people. They have not helped them embrace those kind of farming, whether it is building or constructing for them boreholes, dams.
Yes.
So if you cannot help them, your own people, if you cannot help your own people by standing with them, simply like this situation they are in right now, because the drought situation in northern Kenya is quite devastating, and many of the leaders didn't even went to northern part of the country for quite some time. They live in Nairobi.
They don't go back.
They don't go back to their own places, and they don't know what's actually happening. It is just like an assumption or maybe a story to them. Just like they are visitors. Some of them are visitors, although they are not actually all of them.
So are you in agreement with what the former Deputy President Gachagua said?
Gachagua, at the first place, I was not reading from the same script with him. I mean that I didn't agree at the first place, because he has been accusing the Somalis without evidence. But this time round, I had to agree with him. With what I saw in northern part of the country, the way he advocated for the help, the way he called for the government to intervene,
and declare this a national disaster.
Yes. It is not only the leaders who has neglected the people of Kenya. The long marginalization by the successive government is still there. And why am I saying like that? I'm saying that because the drought situation there is dire. The people there have been singing. Some leaders have been singing. Bloggers have been singing. They have seen with their own eyes. The government has not declared. The government has not declared a national disaster as the drought happened in northern Kenya. So that's also a neglect from the Kenyan government.
Okay, the Kenyan government, but I'm also looking at what the government has done so far to address the problem. Like, I remember they released some significant funds for drought relief and support. We are talking about 778 million shillings, which I can just looking at the statistics of the numbers that I have, the data that I have is that Turkana got 215.1 million shillings, Mandera 179.3, and then Marsabit 110.1 million, Wajir 103.5 million shillings, Garissa 49.8 million.
Million or billion?
Yeah, we are talking of million shillings. That is the first amount that was released. That was 778 to cover for January up to Feb. And looking at the number of people, the number of households that are affected by this drought, over 133,000.
For the entire country.
Yes, and that's why I referred to what Gachagua was saying, that per household they were getting 2,700 per household.
2,700.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'm looking at is this amount really enough, whereby you have to buy everything, including water?
No, it is not enough. Completely not
then
enough.
Again, also, I remember also sometimes early this month, they also talked about the 4.1 billion shillings, which of course is also supposed to go and support the interventions, to bring down, at least to help the people there. So again, there have been accusations of these funds, the relief food that is being sent there, that some people are misusing that food. They are using it for business and so many other things. I don't know whether maybe you experienced such complaints, or you heard about such complaints when you went down there, up there.
Okay. When I went there, I never saw government's help, but I have seen an intervention from the Kenyan Red Cross, which was not enough for the communities. You are talking about 2,500 shillings for each household.
2,700 per household.
Which was affected by the drought.
Per payment cycle, which is 1 month.
Which is for 1 month.
Yes.
2,500.
Yes, 2,700.
Okay, 2,700, or whether it is even it can go beyond that. It is not enough, because those people there are livestock herders and keepers. What they want is food meant for their livestock. Their life comes, the life of the livestock comes before them, which I mean they depend on the livestock. So if you give them 2,500 shillings, it's not enough for them, because if I tell you to cater for a 1 month expense for 2,500, will you be able to sustain?
It's quite
it's not possible.
That's
those people. What you don't know is they are illiterate. They have not went to school.
Okay, don't just say that all of them. They are not all of them. Yes.
Most of them, what I have experienced, are illiterate, because those livestock keepers, where I went was deep into the bush.
Oh, okay.
Okay, those people are actually illiterate, but their children have gone to schools, and they are hoping that the only hope they have is that these children could go and study and maybe in the near future help the family. Okay, the period we are in is Ramadan, and for a period like this, the food demand increases. the expense increases. And if expense increases, 2,500 is not enough, or 5,000 shillings maybe is not enough for a certain household that was affected by the drought, because the drought is more devastating as many would not think. So the government would have done, the 4.1 billion shillings have not gotten into the grounds. What do I mean by that? I mean that where we are in this, when we were in the grounds. That is when I saw the 4.1 billion shillings being raised and released to drought-affected regions. But right now, as we are speaking, the money has not reached to the ground. And you can simply imagine the situation. And for someone who has been fasting the whole day, he has nothing to break his fast. In the downtown, he has nothing to eat. His only source of income, which were the livestock, are dying one after the other. So you can imagine the situation there. Someone could not even simply describe in words the devastations that is there. Even school children have dropped out. I have witnessed a student who have dropped out of school. And when I went to ask those teachers in schools, they have refused to answer, but they told me that they will not speak to the camera, but they know and will simply explain that over 200 children have dropped out of school to help their parents care for livestock. So even the education sector has been affected. So when I spoke to the student, I told him that you have actually dropped out of school. And he told me that he has not dropped out of school. What he did was, he has hopes that he will return to school once the rain come. But before that, he is not capable of returning to school because the money, the livestock there is not only a source of income. It is school fees. It is generational help. It is also what these people could actually live with. So that student has not attended school for the past 2 terms, and is in the documentary. You're going to see.
Yeah, we shall. Yeah.
So even the education sector should take up their take to call for the government to intervene, because if these students do not come to school and rains do not come, then it is also a generation lost to the education sector. So you can simply, the situation of the drought has affected almost all the sectors, including the health.
Yeah, sure.
It has also affected the health sector. You will see malnourished children who only depended on the breastfeeding of mothers. Some were as small as young as 2 years old, and the mother has nothing to consume. So these children will fail to get breastfeeded and therefore get malnourished.
Okay, I think so far, as we await for the documentary, at least we are able to see the situation on the ground. Even as much as we've not been there, at least you've gone there, you've represented us, and whatever, how you're putting it, it's quite unfortunate that this is happening in a country whereby we are talking about going to Singapore, in the next a few years. Sure, yeah. Okay. So I think so far my conclusion would be that for this problem to be sorted, for us to get a long-lasting solution to what is happening, not only in the northeastern region, but also in the other areas that are affected by drought and such calamities, is that we need to have these county governments, the county leadership, coordinating or working together with the national government. I saw the other day the president met, I don't know whether it's a Mandera governor who, so that they can see the best way forward in terms of looking for a solution for what is happening in these counties. So just like we saw what happened the other day, the signing of the cooperation agreement between Nairobi and the national government, let me just bring this in because these other regions also, they would want such kind of a treatment because since they said that Nairobi, the capital city, has a lot of dynamics, so any leadership would of course face a lot of challenges. So it is quite important also to know that the government also needs to put enough good measures to such regions, so that now we can get a lasting solution. We want to see those dams. We want to see boreholes. We want to see people also getting into agriculture and not just planting maize or whatever, but those drought-resistant crops and also fruit trees. It's quite important. So look at what Makueni did. I want to believe, it's not the same climate per se, but I want to believe that if northeastern, because like you said, it's a vast land, so if such projects could be initiated in such places, we will have a food security, because when you have a mango tree planted there, which is resistant to drought, you realize that at least you'll have something that you can eat in terms of fruits are good food.
And actually it's true. Because I personally thought that northern people must embrace dry farming.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not a should. They must, because they cannot only depend on livestock. They should have alternative ways of getting their income. Like you mean, if the government, together with the county government, the national government, together with the county government, try to coordinate to help these people from a cyclic drought that has devastated them for so many years. Because if it does not, if the cyclic drought is almost after 4 years, it will actually happen. So to cap that and bring long-term solutions for the northern part of the country which were affected by the drought, one will be able to embrace dry farming, crop farming, with the help all the funds meant to them be initiated and put on crop farming, other than livestock.
Okay, I think that is a good advice and approach. If maybe the government puts in consideration, it will bring in the solutions that we are talking about.
Okay, let me add to that. The situation in northern is not only a problem of drought. There is also electricity problem. The northern part of the country is not connected to the national grid.
Mm-hmm.
Garissa is the only county that's connected to the national grid. And it is not sufficient. Every time there has been a problem occurring, when it comes to Ramadan, there is a big problem in the electricity. Where these people, I don't know, there are some people who sabotage it to make it difficult to make the life difficult for those people who has been fasting the whole day. So it's a problem, and the northeastern province has been marginalized. The Kenyan government, together with its own counties leadership, should help these people without any should help these people with full comfortability. I must say that.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. So thank you so much, Loge, for joining the conversation. Up to that moment, we shall be having our guests who are already in the studio joining us. But before you go, you also talked about what happened, the agreement, the cooperation agreement between the Nairobi County government, although it is something that we're going to look into details with my guest tonight. But what did you have to say? Because you told me that there's something you want to say about the cooperation agreement.
Okay, as you know, that Nairobi is the capital city of this country, the capital city of Kenya, and it's a city that is diverse, that has included so many people from different part of the world who have come here, who have invested in this city, who want to grow with Nairobi. Nairobi, at the first place, should not be under the leadership of county, to me. And I agree the agreement and fully support the cooperation.
Okay.
But with conditions. If the corrupt individuals, for in the past years, Nairobi, before the devolution, Nairobi was bustling. It was growing day by day. But recently, what did you notice?
Well, I think personally the issues that may be affecting Nairobi in terms of development and so forth, maybe they are way beyond it being run by the county government. Maybe that's what I would say, because, like, for example, in terms of investments, in terms of companies and so forth, of course, you realize that there are so many factors that affect the growth of a city, which some of them would be because of the taxation system. You understand that the taxes that are being paid, and the cost of production.
No, the problem is not the county. The problem is Nairobi is bigger than county, to me. Just like other cities, when you look at other cities around the world, including like Addis Ababa, have you recently seen how Addis Ababa has grown? The infrastructure. It is like simply, when you look at Addis Ababa, you think that it is Dubai, and it's in Africa. So Nairobi was much more ahead than Addis Ababa. And today, as we are speaking, Addis Ababa is more developed than Nairobi. What could be the problem? The problem could be that those people who are interested with the Nairobi County leadership have not delivered as it was required to be delivered. Initially, it was before the devolution, it was under the national government. I sense and saw that there was a bit different between when Nairobi was brought into the leadership of county under the devolution and under the national government.
Of course, the difference is obvious.
It's obvious.
Yes.
But again, corruption is a real threat issue. Because in the national government, if they sign this agreement under cooperation and they go ahead and they say that Nairobi should, most of its departments, I heard that the Department of Health Services, Department of Transport and Traffic, Urban Planning and Sewerage Systems, all those kind of departments were brought and transferred into under the national government. So you see that we hope that the Nairobi that didn't prosper under the county leadership will going to prosper under the national government, but without the corruption, and the leaders should avoid diminishing the name of Nairobi. It is bigger and has a bigger vision because it's one of the most stable city in across the Africa, and one of the largest. It comes simply 5th largest city in Africa. Okay, you can simply sense that Nairobi needs change and development, and some of the developments could be taken to under the national government.
That's also a good perspective. So I think up to that moment, thank you so much for joining this conversation as we bring on board our guests who are already in the studio. But for now, let's have a break.
In solid waste management, the county has already allocated 100 acres for material recovery facilities and transfer stations, committing 4 billion shillings, we agreed, Sakaja, while the national government will provide 2 billion shillings every year within the existing framework to advance circular waste systems. Ladies and gentlemen, security is non-negotiable, especially for a modern capital city like Nairobi. I therefore direct the Cabinet Secretary for Interior to prepare and present within 60 days a framework for a dedicated Nairobi Metropolitan Police Unit.
Partnership between the levels of government. A lot can be achieved when we come together. Devolution is not a competition. Devolution is a collaboration. Your Excellency, devolution is like asking, a bird asking, and I've said this before, for a bird to fly, which wing does it need, the right wing or the left wing? It needs both wings to fly, the national government and the county government. This is not a transfer of functions, as happened during the NMS time, which was a misadventure that left this city with a 16 billion shillings pending bills whole, and which did not augur well with the true spirit of devolution. It is not a transfer, but a collaboration, which is encouraged and which holds true regard to the mandate given to both of us by the people of Kenya and the citizens of Nairobi, and to the constitution that we swore to abide by. With a population of close to 7 million residents, and with the city growing year on year, the equitable share from the division of revenue that provides resources to all the counties, as well as our own source revenue, can never be enough for the demanding needs of a capital city of the stature that we aspire to be. We thank you for your support in this journey, Your Excellency. We're committing to make Nairobi work, because lazima I work. Singapore, here we come. Thank you very much.
The deputy president.
He said ODM wants the deputy presidency.
But at times he says Kindiki is safe.
Yes.
Then at times he says he wants to negotiate with any other formation. So my worry is that ODM may find itself in a very awkward position in this election. And I predict if ODM, the way you will perceive it, in the form that it is, with the symbol that it has, goes in the way it is going, they will be struggling to get 40 members of parliament, down from 80-something that they have today. Because some of them will go to UDA. Already in South Nyanza, they have created a parallel team of people who are not ODM. There is already competition between ODM and UDA.
This is in South Nyanza?
In South Nyanza. That is the information I'm getting from the team that we are working with.
Okay.
So it seems where ODM does not do well, you know, which deal has William Ruto structured with somebody to the benefit of the other person? Any deal that you enter with him, you will come out weather beaten.
But Mheshimiwa.
Yes, totally whitewashed.
Mheshimiwa.
Na tunasonga mbele nyuma ya Dr. Oburu Oginga kama party leader wetu, na tumekubaliana kama chama tunaingia katika mazungumzo na vile chama ambao tuko na fikra sawa, lakini tutaingia mazungumzo na tutahakikisha ya kwamba ale mambo ambayo iko katika 10-point agenda, kwa sababu hapa Rongo kuna watoto wetu waliuawa Nairobi ama hapa wakati wa maandamano. Lazima hii maneno ya 10-point agenda ya compensation of victims of post-election violence, lazima sisi kama ODM tushikilie. Na sisi tunaambia wale wabunge ambao wako bunge, waweke pesa ya compensation ya wale watu ambao waliumia wakati wa maandamano, wale ambao walikufa, pesa iwekwe hapo ndani. Ile 10-point agenda iko na mambo ya kazi kwa vijana. Vijana wanakaa bila kazi. Vijana wanahangaika. Sisi tunataka tuzungumzie ile maneno ya kazi vijana wetu wapate. Ile maneno ya pesa kwa mfuko ya kina mama lazima tipatikane. Pesa ya ugatuzi, ya devolution lazima iongezwe. Hiyo ni mambo ambayo pia tunasongesha wapi?
Asante. Kakamega oye. Hatutoroki leo. Zima hiyo kitu mkutano iendelee. Zima hiyo kitu mkutano iendelee. Hatutoroki leo. Hatutoroki leo. Hatutoroki leo. Zima hiyo kitu. Zima hiyo kitu mkutano iendelee. Funika na jacket. Funika na jacket. Mkutano lazima itaendelea. Tuendelee tusiendelee.
This is Radio Generation. Radio Generation Classified.
This Eid, let's celebrate together. Get ready for the biggest family hangout of the season, Eid Family Fun Day, happening on 20th March at MOW Sports Club, South Sea, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's a full day of non-stop fun for the whole family. Kids, are you ready? We've got chobo, kati, skipping rope challenges, sack races, bouncing castles, and an epic color splash experience. Parents, relax and enjoy the vibes while the kids create unforgettable memories. Entry is only 600 bob for kids and just 200 bob for adults. Grab your tickets now at www.langopass.com. See you on March 20th at MOW Sports Club, South Sea.
Radio Generation Classified. This is Radio Generation. This is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Patricia Wayua. And this is your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation. Generation Report.
Yes, welcome back. This is the Generation Report right here on Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. Remember, if you're in Nairobi, it is on 88.8. If you're in Mombasa, 90.7. And if you're tuning all the way from Garissa and its environs, it is 89.5. If you're also following us on social media, you are doing so on Radio Gen KE, on our digital platform also, rgk.co.ke. The Generation Report is a show that rounds up the big stories of the week. And this week, of course, we've had a lot happening. And that's why tonight I am joined by this special guest tonight. And they are going to introduce themselves before we get to the top of the hour. And then now we can continue with the conversation. So I'm starting from my left. Yeah, you'll be able to introduce yourself and then tell us what you do. Then now we can get to the next guest.
Good evening. Congratulations for a very successful radio with the digital footprint. My name is Duncan Ojwang. Duncan Ojwang here. I teach law. I research also on issues of human rights, and that has been my passion.
Okay, karibu sana, Duncan. Yes?
Yeah, greetings to all of you, fellow citizens, our listeners, and to my fellow co-panelists with me. My name is Pigbin Odimwengu. I am, of course, I'm in so many spaces. So I was a presidential aspirant in the previous election. I'm still aspiring for the same. I am a director for Center for Policy and Strategic Intervention. I am, of course, a founder and currently still a party leader of Accountability and Transparency Party. But beyond that, I engage a lot in Pan-African activities, coordinating Pan-African spaces in various spaces across the continent and the Caribbean. So thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
Mm.
Good evening, listeners. My name is Kibwana. In this panel, I'm last but not least. I'm a teacher of law at Daystar University and also Catholic University of Eastern Africa.
Mm. Okay, there is a bit that we are waiting for.
I used to work in Makueni for 10 years, 2013 to 2022.
Mm. Well, I have a lot to say about a professor. You know, I hear that it is usually an offense if you don't, I want to introduce you and I don't put on the professor, the doctor. I usually hear it's an offense. So Professor Kivutha Kibwana, the former governor of Makueni County, that is where I come from, by the way. Yeah, and I'm happy by the way to host him because I know he really played a very important critical role in my life. Actually, I'm a product of devolution while he was in leadership of Makueni County. So that's why I'm so happy that tonight I'm hosting him here on this platform, Radio Generation, and specifically on the Generation Report. So I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation and of course eye-opening and so many other things. Yeah, so this week there is this one big event that happened, the signing of the cooperation agreement between the Nairobi County government and also the national government. I think it is the biggest story, and of course the political rallies that we are seeing across the country and what is happening specifically, especially on ODM and also on UDA. We are seeing the conflict that is happening in these parties, and we are also expecting to see a lot of breakups in these political parties. We are also expecting to see a lot of changes in the coalitions that we are used to see in our country. So those are the things that are forming the basis of our conversation tonight. And because I said I'm a product of devolution, I said that I was somehow sponsored by the Makueni County government to my university through the leadership of a professor here. So that is also a thing that we will look at, because when you talk about this the cooperation agreement, some people felt that it is a threat to devolution. I want to understand from the analyst here, I don't know what is their perception or what is their view or opinion around this issue of the cooperation, because some people feel that this was a takeover, but when I researched around the whole thing, I didn't see a takeover. Maybe you're gonna help us understand this further. So we are remaining with 2 minutes to the top of the hour, and as usual, I told you my name is Triciah. If you like, you can call me Triciah Wayua, and I'm your host tonight on the Generation Report. I want to say hi to the people who are joining on our social media platforms, that is on our X, on our Facebook, and also on our YouTube. People are eagerly waiting for this, by this conversation. Yeah, so thank you so much for choosing Radio Generation. There are also young people who are joining us through the Google space, the Google Meet space. So we will also be giving them an opportunity to bring in their contribution so that we can make the show quite interesting. So up to this moment, I think you are in the right place, and we only have 1 minute to the top of the hour, and I'm just waiting for the top of the hour so that now we can continue with this conversation. So to the guest, by the way, the reason why we are having a young man in our midst and also others joining us in this conversation through the Google space is because most of the time the young people have been told that you are the leaders of tomorrow, but they said no. We want to be leaders of today.
Of course.
Yeah, and that is why we have them in our midst, so that now they can also tell us what they are able to do to the people, or that difference they feel they need to make in the country, so that we can see a better Kenya. So please, if you're watching, if you're listening, don't go too far away, because we are coming back right here at the Generation Report with me, Triciah Wayua.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Triciah Wayua.
It's 8 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul.
In solid waste management, the county has already allocated 100 acres for material recovery facilities and transfer stations, committing 4 billion shillings, we agreed, Sakaja, while the national government will provide 2 billion shillings every year within the existing framework to advance circular waste systems. Ladies and gentlemen, security is non-negotiable, especially for a modern capital city like Nairobi. I therefore direct the Cabinet Secretary for Interior to prepare and present within 60 days a framework for a dedicated Nairobi Metropolitan Police Unit.
Partnership between the levels of government. A lot can be achieved when we come together. Devolution is not a competition. Devolution is a collaboration. Your Excellency, devolution is like asking, a bird asking, and I've said this before, for a bird to fly, which wing does it need, the right wing or the left wing? It needs both wings to fly, the national government and the county government. This is not a transfer of functions, as happened during the NMS time, which was a misadventure that left this city with a 16 billion shillings pending bills whole, and which did not augur well with the true spirit of devolution. It is not a transfer, but a collaboration, which is encouraged and which holds true regard to the mandate given to both of us by the people of Kenya and the citizens of Nairobi, and to the constitution that we swore to abide by. With a population of close to 7 million residents, and with the city growing year on year, the equitable share from the division of revenue that provides resources to all the counties, as well as our own source revenue, can never be enough for the demanding needs of a capital city of the stature that we aspire to be. We thank you for your support in this journey, Your Excellency. We're committing to make Nairobi work, because lazima I work. Singapore, here we come. Thank you very much.
The deputy president.
He said ODM wants the deputy presidency.
But at times he says Kindiki is safe.
Yes.
Then at times he says he wants to negotiate with any other formation. So my worry is that ODM may find itself in a very awkward position in this election. And I predict if ODM, the way you will perceive it, in the form that it is, with the symbol that it has, goes in the way it is going, they will be struggling to get 40 members of parliament, down from 80-something that they have today. Because some of them will go to UDA. Already in South Nyanza, they have created a parallel team of people who are not ODM. There is already competition between ODM and UDA.
This is in South Nyanza?
In South Nyanza. That is the information I'm getting from the team that we are working with.
Okay.
So it seems where ODM does not do well, you know, which deal has William Ruto structured with somebody to the benefit of the other person? Any deal that you enter with him, you will come out weather beaten.
But Mheshimiwa.
Yes, totally whitewashed.
Mheshimiwa.
Na tunasonga mbele nyuma ya Dr. Oburu Oginga kama party leader wetu, na tumekubaliana kama chama tunaingia katika mazungumzo na vile chama ambao tuko na fikra sawa, lakini tutaingia mazungumzo na tutahakikisha ya kwamba ale mambo ambayo iko katika 10-point agenda, kwa sababu hapa Rongo kuna watoto wetu waliuawa Nairobi ama hapa wakati wa maandamano. Lazima hii maneno ya 10-point agenda ya compensation of victims of post-election violence, lazima sisi kama ODM tushikilie. Na sisi tunaambia wale wabunge ambao wako bunge, waweke pesa ya compensation ya wale watu ambao waliumia wakati wa maandamano, wale ambao walikufa, pesa iwekwe hapo ndani. Ile 10-point agenda iko na mambo ya kazi kwa vijana. Vijana wanakaa bila kazi. Vijana wanahangaika. Sisi tunataka tuzungumzie ile maneno ya kazi vijana wetu wapate. Ile maneno ya pesa kwa mfuko ya kina mama lazima tipatikane. Pesa ya ugatuzi ya devolution lazima iongezwe. Hiyo ni mambo ambayo pia tunasongesha wapi?
Asante. Kakamega oye. Hatutoroki leo. Zima hiyo kitu mkutano iendelee. Zima hiyo kitu mkutano iendelee. Hatutoroki leo. Hatutoroki leo. Hatutoroki leo. Zima hiyo kitu. Zima hiyo kitu mkutano iendelee. Funika na jacket. Funika na jacket, mkutano lazima itaendelea.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayua, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
All right, welcome back to the Generation Report, and we are going to go straight to the big stories that we want to look at. And like I said, we need to start with this story about the cooperation agreement, because it is one of the biggest stories that made headlines this week. But before we continue, I want to appreciate our contributors that is on our Google Meet. I can see Peter Edwin is joined on this conversation. There is also George. There is also Edwin Shamir. There is Okite Linus on the line, and they are going, of course, once they, as they contribute their views, they are going to introduce themselves. So starting with the young man in the studio, what is your take out of this agreement that we are talking about?
Thank you very much once again. I foresee a problem somewhere, because of course Nairobi as a county is a different situation and scenario based on what the governor is saying in terms of the population and what is needed for Nairobi. There is, of course, some people think that then why don't you not make Nairobi a county but just be the center of the city? Because in terms of most of the central government functions and offices are within the Nairobi, which means then Nairobi can just be under the same national government without being or without having a governor for the purposes of running Nairobi. But if you have to take Nairobi as a county then, and not only Nairobi, of course the constitution talks about 15% to counties as minimum, not the maximum, the minimum. And therefore, if the government has money for such corporations to give more services to the people, why don't they just increase the allocation for county governments so that county government can meet their responsibility? I don't think it requires now a county government to enter into cooperation with national government for them to have more allocations. I think it's right for the national government to add more allocations, especially for counties, to ensure that they actually can be able to function as per the constitution, and especially if you look at the scenarios of the cities as well, because the cities bring challenges. We have counties that are cities as well, but beyond counties that are cities, you know, every citizen is equal before the law. And if we can have actually what you call proportional representation in terms of allocation, if a county has this, and that is the conversation we're having during BBI, whether it is 1 man, 1 shilling. But again, it comes up with what you call 1 kilometer. But the key issues here is that resources must follow the people. And when you give functions like functions you give to Nairobi County and you don't give the resources necessary, then it means that you keep these people not independent, but dependent on the national government. So if the government has to weigh, if they want to help Nairobi, either they increase allocations to the county directly without having so-called cooperation agreement. Because the moment you enter into cooperation, it means you have the money. So why don't you just give the money without the cooperation? You see? And if you feel that the county cannot also function without the cooperation, then why don't you just have Nairobi being part of the national government rather than being a county per se? Because now, in terms of accountability, the governor is the representative of the people of Nairobi County. Now, in this cooperation agreement, how are people going to keep the governor in check in terms of oversight? They will say sometimes some of the functions go to the national government. So there's a bit of issues here, but the point here is that we are identifying that there's a challenge. in whether the cooperation is good or right, or bad, but there's a challenge that we need to fix. The only thing we need to agree is what is the right way for us to do it.
Okay.
That's what I can say.
Okay, let me go to Daktari because I know sometimes back during, I think, Mike Sonko's time, there was the issue of the Metropolitan. I remember, Nairobi being transferred to that Metropolitan, and I've heard people say that there is a lot of funds that were lost because of that, and the issue of accountability. So I don't know, what is your take on this, and was the procedure? Was the procedure legal?
I've not really sat with it to look at the legality a lot. I want to be honest. The Constitution envision how to cooperate, which is in terms of grants between the national government and the county. So there is paths that are already laid in the Constitution. And with that, the national government can then get to implement that project that they are passionate about, that does not necessarily fall exclusively within the county. There's even a mechanism of transferring those functions to which unit can do it better. But so far, I saw this one not reaching that threshold. And that's why I think they're using the word cooperation. I see the exit clause, the mediation clause. More else, in their argument, it's simply a framework to work together, and with any party can pull out and to work together on those things that they feel are common. So the county and the argument has been that, look, this is like one zebra. A zebra has the black spot and white spot. If you spear the black spot, you will not say the zebra will not be hurt. You need to keep both spots because it's one animal. That Nairobi and the residents are one. Now, you know that devolution is the most important chapter in the Constitution. We have to protect it jealously, and so I don't blame those who have anxiety to anything that they feel is not common. But the argument from governor and from the executive is that, look, we have to do a few projects together. There is some expertise, there is some resources that is resided within the national government. And because of that, we have a common interest in implementing things like helping Nairobi, which 60% of Nairobians live in informal settlement, up to 60%. And they have been tagged well, so that we still talk of Nairobi as a green city, but really big population suffering quietly, without sanitation, without even proper roads, without water, with insecurity. And so the argument is that those corporations are to target those specific things that are touching on the life of these vulnerable people. Nairobi Metropolitan was so easy for many people to see the illegality because it actually transferred the function. We also noticed the amount of undue pressure that was put on the former governor, Mike Sonko. This one, the county assembly is going to do public participation. I think there is a chance to hear people's views. But the argument is the principle of devolution is to help the people. And if people cooperate, the Supreme Court have spoken about the form of devolution we have, that these governments are distinct, but they can interrelate, but distinct. And so that is the argument. Is the county remaining distinct, or is it just interrelating. So the Supreme Court gave a view on what kind of revolution that our country envisioned, that it's not so much about autonomy or self-rule or self-governance, and totally not also that it means nothing. It's hybrid there, that there is a middle ground there where, yes, we have 48 distinct governments, but they are able to cooperate, and we should be able to cooperate. But we have none other than a former governor and a professor of law who will gently guide us through this legal mess.
Karibu, Governor. Yeah, so you've heard what he said, and by your own self, you also heard what the president, you saw the whole procedure of signing that agreement, and the information that you have about devolution, because some people came out and said that this was a takeover. So I don't know, what is your take?
I think, as Duncan has said, there is legal mechanism, particularly through the Constitution, Article 187, which allows one government to cede some of its functions to another level, and also the resources that are to be used for that purpose. So, strictly speaking, there can be that kind of negotiation. So it isn't like there isn't constitutional mechanism or constitutional provisions to allow that. And so, in this instant case, one would have to look to be sure that what is happening is strictly under Article 187, so that it isn't a new formation or a new system that is actually unknown to the Constitution, so to speak. Of course, the question of the grants, that is usual, that happens usually. The national government can also make resources available as a grant, conditional grant, to a county, so that a county will do specific things. In the Songo situation, first of all, that was done without before there was actually a conversation with the citizens of Nairobi, whether they thought that was the proper thing to do. And even in this instance, I think public participation did not occur, so that could be a point if people went to court. And of course, it is necessary to determine, is a county unable to do its functions, fourth schedule functions? Is it unable? And if it's unable, what is the reason? So that citizens are satisfied that there is a gap, and this gap requires to be filled by the national government. And it doesn't mean that devolution is failing, and it doesn't mean that national government is raiding counties to take functions and to take resources from them. Of course, there's the larger question of, even for all the counties, whether we take health, whether we take agriculture, which essentially are county functions, the national government tends to keep more money than the money that goes to the county government. So that structurally, there is still a problem. From 2013, now that's how many years of devolution? From 2013. Yes. So with that kind of period of devolution, one thought that there would have been, it would have been settled that, if it's agriculture, that, most of that money should go to the county. If it's health, most of the money should go to the county. So if therefore you say counties are not performing and yet they're not getting money, which is the point Duncan made, then that's not fair. That is not fair. And also, it is important for the counties to raise their own source revenue. Like Nairobi potentially can raise a lot of money if they do they collect their dues, their taxes, their land, rents and stuff, so that even for this function that they may argue they don't have enough money, still national government, still they could get the money from their own source revenue. But having said that, as I conclude, one wonders, why is it Nairobi which is targeted? Why don't we hear of other counties that are being kind of encouraged to get some of their functions done by the national government? Of course, Nairobi is the heart of Kenya, and there's lots of interest in Nairobi, and even politically, economically, whatever. The national government will always be looking to see what's going on in Nairobi. It's the nerve center of the country, meaning that even politics begin, one could say, in Nairobi, and then they percolate to the rest of the country. And I would imagine one of the motivating factors for the president to kind of initiate this, whether one calls it cooperation or whatever name they call it, is with the 80 billion that is supposed to have is going to come from the national government to Nairobi to do work, for Nairobi. It looks to me like it's one way of preparing for the 2027 elections, because now legally the national government and the president have a foothold in Nairobi, and if you have 80 billion, you can really deploy it politically, not necessarily even to better the city.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at the breakdown of the 80 billion, talking about street lighting, talking about 1.5 billion for power connectivity, looking at 5.1 billion for water supply, 9 billion, 6 billion for sewer networks and treatment, 8.7 for roads and drainage, 50 billion for Nairobi River Regeneration Program. I want to understand, because we have ministries charged with some of these responsibilities that we have here. What will be the work of the ministries? Maybe to start with you, Governor.
Yeah. I think provision of electricity, that is done everywhere by the national government, so that you don't have to get into an agreement with Nairobi, so that you can do that, you can provide that. Even in terms of the Nairobi River, that old story of restoring it, that again in terms of environment is something that actually can be a shared responsibility. And so even when one looks at those elements carefully, there are elements which can be done by the national government without the national government having to kind of say that they are helping the county to do certain functions. And I think that is why, therefore, one has to really examine what is the nature of this agreement, where its legality in terms of, is it under 187, Article 187 of the Constitution? Is it a grant? What is it? And when the national government does some of these things that are supposed to be done by Nairobi, will it be Senate asking the national government, in terms of accountability, because Senate looks at the accountability of counties and county functions. So now, is this the National Assembly doing it? Is it so there is unclarity, and some of these things happen and they are led to pass and they become problems.
Okay, let's hear from our contributors on the Google space, because I know they have something to say around the whole agreement. So I will start with Okite Linus. Okite, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much, Tricia. And I want to agree with my seniors. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm glad that we have very competent lawyers on the panel, and they would guide me if I'm wrong in this case. Prof, I think the transfer of functions in Nairobi is an illegality. If you look at Article 187 of the Constitution, it talks about the transfer of powers of counties between levels of government, and does not necessarily talk about one particular county. it talks about the level, so that if there was a question about transfer of, say, a function like education, let's, for example, or electricity, or whatever function it is, let's take education as an instance, then Article 187 provides that the transfer of the function would be between the county government or the county government levels of governance and the national level. Article 187 does not in any part foresee a situation where the transfer be only in one county. Secondly, and probably finally, I think the issue of course, now the issue of also Article 189, but also in 189 there are frameworks that have been guided upon in terms of the relationships. Again, my interpretation of the Constitution does not allow a seclusion of one particular county. The wording in the Constitution is the levels of government. It does not say a certain county. That is the wording. But my final contribution is this. I think the county governments, all of them, and particularly Nairobi, what they have failed to do, the framers of our Constitution were very, for me, the part I love most about the County Government Act is actually in sections 108 and 109 of the County Governments Act. If we had governors who had properly prepared county integrated development plans, sectoral plans, and so on and so forth, and we had a proper way in which they were implementing it, if they are prepared by professionals and they're implementing it a certain manner, then we would not end up with the kind of mess that we are seeing in Nairobi. So my submission would be that we don't have to transfer counties, because Triciah and the panel, if you look at even our national government, give me one ministry that is properly run. Give me one parastatal that is properly run, a pure profit parastatal that is properly run, that Kenyans can see. So this issue of people beginning to say that Nairobi should be transferred to the national government for it to be run, that is a lie. Even our national government is not doing very well in terms of their own functions. So what we should have instead, my suggestion would be, let us have a Nairobi that has a proper plan and that is implementable in a certain way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Okite. So let's get to hear George. George, are you there? George Mwangi. Yes. Mm-hmm. What is your take, or what is your submission around this agreement?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm glad to be here.
Karibu.
Let's talk about this agreement between the government and the county of Nairobi. It's a two-way-sided thing, and the baseline is about working for our people. The only somebody who is going to benefit for this issue is our people on the ground. But the only problem we have about that agreement is that there was no proper public participation that took place. That's the only thing that happened, and that becomes the main problem. Because right now, I deal with people from the ground. I'm not a lawyer as my seniors there, co-brothers there, but in the real sense of the ground, the county government needed to be so much adhered to what they are doing on the ground. Nairobi is as a capital city of Kenya. It needs a lot to be done. And there's a very big problem that's been piling for so many years. So sometimes when the government intervene, like right now, they intervene on garbage collection, connectivity of electricity, and lighting the city. Those are the things that are supposed to be done in other areas. But in Nairobi, it needs a very special interference. But when the Nairobi national government intervene, it's good. But my problem is this. Governor is put on check by Senate. But now who is going to get put in check this coexistence? Now that's where the big problem lies. Who will check on what is happening on these two agreements? That's the main question that we ask. The other thing, it's about garbage correction, project about livers, held watch. But the main thing and important thing is that the main issue that after agreement was implemented in Nairobi County, it's about revenue correction. A bit there, it was a bit lenient, but I know all of things is about political. That is what happening on the ground. Even this agreement, because the moment the Nairobi County is the face of Kenya, because the capital city of the everybody when it comes here, he judges Kenya concerning the capital city. Now, when the president is having so many fights within that, he's doing nothing. Eventually, there was a big problem between Nairobi and national government. Nairobi was so dirty, drainage system, the water working, so the president felt ashamed with what is happening. That's why he decided to put a hand in that. But eventually, it's supposed to go all through touching every county for it to be so much equivalent and to make all counties to be equal. But Nairobi needs a very serious and personal care from within all dimensions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, George. Where are you from?
I'm Nairobi. I'm the youth leader who represents hawkers all over the Nairobi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let's also hear from Peter Edwin.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me well and clear.
Yes. Where are you calling from?
My name is Peter and I'm from Thika Town, constituency.
Okay.
But I work in Nairobi County. I'm in Nairobi County 5 days a week.
Okay.
So I'm more or less a resident of Nairobi County, and whatever happens in Nairobi County affects me directly. Yes. So my colleagues, I think, have broken down on this large at an extensive manner. So I don't think I'll add much. But let me say this. Number one, that whole deal is unconstitutional, null and void. That's number one. However, whichever way you look at it, number one, it's unconstitutional and based on our gains of devolution. Yes, that's number one. Number two, the question we need to ask here is this: whom will it benefit? Is it the citizens, or is it these two governments led by the president and also this other side led by Governor Sakaja? How did we come to this? We came to this because of a failed leader, who is Johnson Sakaja. Because I can answer, because however, whichever way you look at it, Sakaja has not delivered in Nairobi. And I think that is the main reason he had to submit some of these roles to the national government. And remember one thing, we are approaching the election. So it is worth noting that it might also be used as a campaign tool to the national government, or rather to William Ruto. Yes, that's number two. Number three, let me say this. Nairobi County, over the years, we've been having governors who are politicians. And I think if you look at it keenly, it has been proved beyond a reasonable doubt. Nairobi doesn't need a politician, because politicians have got their own interests. Do not be surprised that maybe this deal, there's still personal interest in there, be it financial, be it elective benefits. So, number one, is there goodwill by a politician in Nairobi? No. We have been proved during 2013 by Kidero. It has been proved in 2017 by Mike Sonko, progressively by Ann Kananu. Right now, we have Johnson Sakaja. We have seen Nairobi, still the issue with the Nairobi River has not changed. The issue with garbage collection has not changed. The issue with transport, at least we have been seeing some work, but it's national government work. But at the governor, everything, the buck stops at him. Has he done anything in regards to transport? We still see traffic jams. We still experience time wastage. All these traffic jams, it's a loss to our economy. I do not have the figures in terms of how much it costs us, but it's quite a big figure. So, to close this up, my 2 cents is Nairobi needs a leader, not a politician. Yes.
Thank you. Peter. Now, our last contributor is Edwin Shamir, all the way from Mombasa. Karibu, Shamir.
Jioni njema, Triciah and the guest in the studio. Salimia sana, Professor. A very good friend, a very respected leader Kenya have ever have. I just ride on what my predecessors panel have talked about, and I will agree with what they have said. One, I'll say that from the day Sakaja handed over the power of the county government of Nairobi to national government, that is the day Sakaja ceased not to earn any salary in the name of the government, because we don't consider him. In fact, it is not about us, but the constitution itself doesn't consider Sakaja as the sitting governor of Nairobi, because there's no way people who employed you to work for them, then you wake up and transfer those responsibilities to someone else, then you still want to sit in the office, sitting pretty, taking tea with the air conditioners, then you want to come back 2027 and tell us that I worked for you, and now I'm going around requesting you that you give me another chance. So I think constitutionally, what Peter have said and I've talked about is in office and constitutionally, and the Constitution does not recognize him as a governor. Secondly, I think if today Raila Amolo Odinga wakes up from his grave and Odimwengu, the father of the father of the revolution, wakes up today, he will really slap Sakaja very bad, because these are the people who fought to defend the devolution. They have stood firm. In fact, it has costed Raila even some of the votes when he all the time he tries to become the president, but because of his fight for the devolution to work, that has really costed Raila. So today, the people who are pretending that they are the children of Raila, they are the sons of Raila, learning from what Raila has been fighting for, are the people within 3 months or 4 months after Raila died, they're the one now going through the back door and sell whatever Raila was fighting for. So I'll say that Nairobi will not work. It will not work if the national government, which controls 85% of our revenue, is failing everyone here. And all of these people here can agree with me where they are. Let us not talk about the county government, but let's talk about national government. Which services of national government is favoring you? All of you here will agree with me, out of 100% is maybe 20%. So it is not working. If it has not worked through Sakaja, who tells you that it's going to work in the hand of someone who is on the flight each and every day? Out of 7 days, is on the flight 5 days out of 7 days. That is Musalia Mudavadi, who is the CS of the diaspora and foreign affairs. Now is going to handle Nairobi. Are you going to handle Nairobi while signing deals with Israel? Are you going to handle the issues of Nairobi whilst signing the deals of Singapore, which maybe it might end up being signed in Timboroa or somewhere else? So I'm saying that the number one thing which we need to stand up and defend is the Constitution. The drafters of the Constitution, they were not wrong when they said that the services must be brought closer to the people. Now, those people who knew that this is our office, which if we see or we feel like that the services are not being offered to us, how will these people end up in a flight and follow Musalia Mudavadi in Israel to cry for them that the garbages is not being collected, the sewage is not working, the market thing is not working, SHA is not working? So ideally, I think it is political, and even Ruto knows very well that he has done. He has violated the Constitution, and even Ruto need to be impeached with what he has done, because this is unconstitutional. And it does not start with the Sakaja. It started with the only governor which did not sign a deal with the national government. It was Kidero. But all these other people, are telling us that they cannot manage Nairobi. The same Sakaja is the one who campaigned on the weaknesses of Sonko when the Sonko transferred the services to the General Mbadi. Now is the same Sakaja now is telling us that I can run Nairobi, but I cannot deal with other services, which you have given me the responsibility to do. So I think, Triciah, is not a matter of politics, but it's a matter of service to the people.
Okay,
Where
thank you.
are we heading to? How is mwananchi wa kawaida wa Kawangware wa Dolphin is going to benefit through what Sakaja has done? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is our lineup on the Google Meet. And as you can hear, they are young people. And they are so much concerned about what happens to Nairobi. I know I have seniors in the house. And maybe you can just respond to maybe some of the issues they've raised with my seniors in the studio.
Thank you. I am not senior, but I share what my fellow young people are, of course, raising. And it shows you that we know what's going on as a generation. And we can tell. Sometimes they do this and they think that we will not know. But we can tell that there's something wrong and we know what is wrong. And based on the opinions that you are getting from my fellow, of course, youth, it's very clear that you are ready to defend the Constitution. Because to us, it is like a gift to this generation. And I believe that anybody, and that's why I think when they take oath of office, they take to defend the Constitution. And anybody who try to violate or actually go contrary to the Constitution, it's the responsibility of all of us to try to correct this. Okay. As you are saying, it can start as one case study, but it can then extend to other counties. Okay. I envision that in 10 years probably the devolved units could be self-sustained. They could be having their own revenue, they could be running their services. But that is only if the national government was totally and honestly willing to help devolved units. Because you cannot actually, as some of us are saying here, you cannot have a government that is holding 80% of the resources and is failed, trying to see a county that is having 15% as a failed state or a failed county, you see. But my thinking is that if devolved unit can work properly, the national government will have even less work. But the thing that devolved unit working properly will take more of the votes from the national government. But basically, sometimes in terms of physical locality, where is the physical difference between national government and devolved units? There's no difference. Mm-hmm. Where is the difference in terms of physical locality between people who stay in county and those who call themselves in the national government? So basically, we are running the same people. We are controlling the same people and we are serving the same people. And the spirit of the devolution, as some of them are saying, was to bring services close to the people. If the devolved unit can do that, why don't you just support it? But the key problem we are having, as also one of my fellow is saying, is the conflict of interest. I think people at the national level are not ready to leave those resources go down there. And they want to control it for the purpose of either what we know, they want to enrich themselves with it. But the key thing that I envision is if the national government could have been supporting county government, even with the 50% allocation, in the last 10 years, county government could not be depending on national government for allocation. Actually, they could even be generating some money to the national government. But in a situation where we have a baby and we don't want the baby to walk, we just want to put some rope on the baby. And this is costing us because we are playing the life and the services to the citizen. We cannot offer it at the national level, and we don't also want the county levels to also offer it. So it is a situation whereby we must agree as citizens of the country, not the politicians, not the president or the governor. As the citizens of the country, what do we want? And by the moment we vote for the constitution, we wanted devolution. We wanted services close to us. Issues of whether the leadership is corrupt or the rest, those are things we can fix. But those are not reasons why you can take away a function from certain level to your level. Let's just fix leadership and ensure that resources come. Because everybody is corrupt, even the national government, they're corrupt.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let's hear from Dr.
Yeah, thank you. I think a very great discussion. I support the emotions of the panel, the callers.
People, yes.
Lawyers like an answer that it depends. It depends because something can be legal or it cannot be illegal. It depends on various circumstances, and that's why even Professor was laying down that is it under this and is it under this, and that is why for me I will need to, of course it's already in court, but at a personal level I will need to dig deeper, but it will be hard to just say it's unconstitutional, null and void, and that's why we use answers like it depends, because it will be based on the facts and the law and the principles that they have articulated, like the principle of subsidiarity, devolution, and all that. But I also think that two things. One, I worked in Kenya Power Board, and you know that in a few recently you saw Kenya Power having issues with Nairobi County, including who should even pay for the street lights. That's an issue, and we need street lights for security.
Sure.
And so one of the problems or challenges that was in Kenya Power is that most places in informal settlement are not connected. People have illegal connections. They have gone direct to the transformer and they have connected there. In fact, the famous meme Nitakufinya, remember, followed the context where a journalist was interviewing and somebody said that we need these things fixed. We have a lot of illegal connection, and one person from the neighborhood say, wewe omba kazi.
Yes.
We, nitakufinya ukikuja na hizo story. So, and how many times have we seen fire? Have we seen deaths? And Kenya Power has lost immeasurable revenue. Immeasurable revenue because somebody have connected the power illegally or directly through transformer. I've worked in some of the neighborhoods where you find this is a death trap. The power is connected direct to the transformer. Down here is water, and people are passing under, and so that is the reality. That we live in two Kenya, what somebody described as a tale of two cities. It's time for darkness and light at the same time. Now, again, I was lucky that I worked as a commissioner in Nairobi Rivers Commission for over 1 year. And so, again, I realized that Nairobi is a water scarce place. But the sewer here, and most of the water running as sewer, can, if they are protected well, if they are treated, if illegal dumping is avoided, if industrial waste is avoided, then we have a lot of water. But so far, what do we have in those rivers from Gong and from Mundiri and all that? We have sewers. So we are looking for water in Murang'a, bringing it a lot of expense, but there is tons and liters of water that are polluted because of the human activity and because there is no clear way of even dumping. Right now, one of the problems then was that the Nairobi County that is supposed to where people bring dumps and all that, you find that even the machine sometimes is broken. Do you know where they end up, some of this waste, even industrial waste? In the river. Do you know what that means down in Makueni? And we worked with the current governor of Makueni. When the water comes from Mundiri, it is clean water, apart from a few agricultural waste. When it reaches Nairobi, the water becomes green and black, means there is no oxygen, it's dead. But it's still moving. To where? Down to Makueni. You said you're from Makueni. And none other than Governor Mutula connected the uprise of cancer down in Makueni. All the projects that are being done, including the Masinga Dam or the irrigation that is planned there, this water including the one from Sabaki, once it is polluted, it has passed through the city. It cannot help people down there. And from there it goes through Makueni down to the Indian Ocean. That is Nairobi River. It also affects Ngong and Ngong River. And therefore, if you look at the informal settlement and look at the tributaries of Nairobi River, we have a serious problem. We have a river that a few years, for those who came to Nairobi earlier, could swim and see fish with their eyes. Right now, it is history. And let me tell you where I think the president get excited. Because as a commissioner of Nairobi River, there is a time we met him. And I was trying my best to be environmentalist until he asked us, have you read my master's thesis on how to generate Nairobi Dam? True story. And we started looking at each other. We are the experts here.
Yes.
And the president, her master's thesis is on how to generate Nairobi Dam. Nairobi Dam and the illegal encroachment and what the dam has become, that is his master's. So we kept quiet. Then he moved to the second question. Have you read my doctorate on how to clean Sanya River from agricultural waste in Kitale? And that is what we can do with agricultural waste from Mundiri and Kiambu, which are coming down to Nairobi River. Then I realized the passion is born from his scholarly work. And so he has a lot of interest there. Finally, in conclusion, Nairobi is the international hub. Right now, we are planning to it's going to have a one-stop shop of international diplomacy, just like UN. Most of the UN headquarters were coming here. UNEP is here in Nairobi City, right? And congratulations to Honorable Ida. Remember, she's going to be the UNEP representative.
Yeah.
And so you have a city where, do you know how many international organizations will prefer for this region and for Africa to have their headquarters in Nairobi? So you have a city where it's international, it has the international footprint, but guess what? We live the way we want. And that is why, if you can have synergy between the governments, Sakaja tried to help the farmers move to build markets and leave the city. Now you are in a city where you meet Mkokoteni and you are here with your binoculars at tourist, and there is Mkokoteni because somebody has a sack of potato. Somebody must just buy by farmers market there, and therefore I think hard decisions must be made, because we must move to a better country.
Okay, to the professor, but do you think that we didn't have to make Nairobi a county?
I think that was one of the issues that was discussed from initially through the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, Yashkai, when Lumumba was the secretary. So from that time and through Bomas, the idea was like Washington, D.C., which is not necessarily a state, but is like a special district. That also was the idea about Nairobi. So that you didn't necessarily have to get somebody elected as such. You would like get somebody who is appointed, who is like a manager, not necessarily a politician. So there was that idea, but it didn't see light of day at the end, because it was decided Nairobi would also become a county. And I remember when somebody like Jim Nambaro offered to be a governor of Nairobi, and somebody who is not really a politician, but who in terms of economic management is quite gifted. The citizens didn't think that that was the kind of person that they wanted. And actually, the political parties more or less impose a governor in Nairobi because of these tribal maths, like, am I being supported by the Kikuyu? Am I being supported by the Kamba? Am I being supported by the Luo? So they identify whom they want. And then later, when this person is not performing, they don't blame themselves. They begin either to blame the person, or they say, okay, now let's do cooperation or something like that. So, and I think there is a major problem, because when you look at also Mombasa, when you look at Nakuru, still we are seeing that these major towns, which should really be oases of development, there is a challenge. One can say Kisumu is doing quite well under Professor Nyang Nyong. Eldoret, also some issues. So it's a big problem that requires to be solved, because Africa is urbanizing quite rapidly. And if you do not have proper leadership in these towns, then the development will be stunted. We will be in problems. And therefore, it comes to, I think you talked about the citizen, the office of the citizen. For the citizen to know that, in these cities, and of course everywhere else, we need to elect the right person. Somebody who has a track record, somebody who can really manage a city, not necessarily politics, morning politics, afternoon politics. That will not help whatsoever. And even as my colleague, learned colleague, has said about Nairobi River, that was on the agenda from day one, and even in terms of the bottom-up plan. But I think if the residents of neighboring the Nairobi River, like the young people, like you go to Mathare, you go to those places, if they had really been socialized in terms of doing this work, being very, very pivotal in terms of cleaning and and even their own indigenous knowledge of people who have lived there, how can it be done properly? Instead of kind of commercializing even too much that way of cleaning and all that, I think that could have been very good. Like when you saw houses being brought down, like I think I saw Giuliani, almost weeping. Again, that was not the way, because if you want to encourage people to improve where they live, then you need to talk to them and you need to get solutions from them about how something can be done. But I think sometimes when governments want to do something in a hurry and without proper consultation with the people, you might not get it. Right. So I think there, even ultimately, for it to work properly, I think one has to really involve those, the people in those people's settlements, so that they are very much part of that. But I like, what Duncan said in terms of like the water to, the polluted water going all the way to Machakos, Makueni, up to the coast. The coast. People drink that water raw. And when they do that, it's terrible. And because they're, used to just getting the water and all that kind of stuff, of course, sometimes you try to purify it a bit, but that's a major problem. And finally, in terms of this illegal harvesting of electricity and so on, the Constitution says that people must have, Article 43, they must have education, they must have health, they must have sanitation, they must have water, they must have food which is affordable and of high quality. Yes. And so part of housing, you cannot have housing without electricity. So it is how, again, at the national level and even county level, how do you do it, first of all, to encourage people, even as you do affordable housing? You have another variant of affordable housing, which the people who are in people's settlements can actually kind of afford it, and even getting, title to some of the land that they inhabit, and then, getting, some of the electricity. There was a time I went to Libya when I used to be an assistant minister.
Can I cut you short, kidogo? We get to the top of the hour.
It's 9 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayua, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
And yes, this is the Generation Report coming to you right on Radio Generation 88.8 in Nairobi, 90.7 all the way in Mombasa and its environs, and also 89.5 all the way to Garissa. And those of you who are following the conversations, that is on our social media platforms, Radio Gen KE, that is on Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube, plus the X platform, as well as those of you following the conversation through our digital platform, that is rgk.co.ke. Karibuni tena sana kwenye mazungumzo ambayo tunafanya hapa hivi. Tunaendelea na mazungumzo tukiwa na wageni ambao wako kwenye studio na wengine ambao wako kwenye Google Meet space. So the conversation is quite interesting, and especially this one about the agreement, the cooperation agreement between the county government and also the national government. Professor, before we went for the break, Professor was saying something. I just want him to finalize that because we want to get to politics. We want to see what is happening in the political space also. But before we get to that point, there is also a question I wanted to ask you. Compare Nairobi before devolution and after devolution.
Okay. So I was just looking for a way in which Article 43 of the Constitution, which is on economic, sociocultural rights, especially, health, education, all those rights, even for people in informal settlements, how do you make sure that happens? And you see, even the affordable housing, and I'm not saying that that's not a good program, because Africa is urbanizing, Nairobi is urbanizing, but many of the people in the informal settlements will not be able to buy those houses. So one could get a way of helping them, getting titles to land which, they live on, and ways of building real affordable houses for them, and you encourage them to do that themselves, and you can make some, monies available for that. Because as I said, when I went to Libya on government duty when I was an assistant minister in the office of president, there people got flats through the money that they got from oil. People were able to be given flats. Education was free, hospitals were free, and even when young people married, they got some money to start a family. So those things can happen, but of course they can't happen if there is massive corruption, and therefore there are things that we can do to improve the livelihoods of our people. The question that you asked about Nairobi before 2010 and Nairobi after 2010. Unfortunately, Nairobi doesn't seem to change, because even those days of, Kanju, of course, there was a significant violence by the Kanju people to, hawkers and so on. Lots of debts, people providing services not being paid because of, corruption and all that. Sometimes the government would be dissolved and there would be a commission the elected people would be dissolved, and there would be, there would be a commission now taking over, like Gumo was, head of one of those commissions. And so that's why one worries that this other issue now of national government taking over some functions of these counties, and Nairobi in particular, it's like going back to those commissions when the elected government would be put aside, swept aside, and so there would be that, a commission, to run it, and that was not, of course, democratic. So Nairobi has a lot of promise, and as my colleague said, Nairobi can be a real hub, for our region, and so we really need to identify proper leadership for Nairobi as it is, and maybe when we look at the constitution, probably after these elections, then we can ask, does Nairobi need a special status?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Thank you for the contributions that you've made on this one topic. So we are going to head to something else about politics. A few weeks ago, not even a few weeks ago, immediately after the passing on of Baba, Raila Molo Odinga, the leader of ODM, ODM have never settled down. Since the passing on of Raila Molo Odinga, we have seen what has been happening up to the moment now when we are talking about some of the people, the leadership, the shake-up in the leadership. And we saw what the NEC meeting, the outcome of the NEC meeting at the coast, the issue of the SEC-Gen. And after that, we are also seeing and witnessing what has really become of ODM, the party that people felt like used to stand for the people. So as we speak, today, we had different rallies from the different factions of ODM. And of course, as well as the United Opposition, they had their own rallies. And one thing that we've witnessed, especially the faction of Sifuna, the likes of Kinababu, we have always witnessed chaos every time they are going for the rallies. Like today, when I was watching the rally in Kakamega, I saw that tear gas scene and what happened after that. But now the question that people have been asking is, why is it that it is the Sifuna's rallies whereby we are witnessing what we are witnessing? Why is it not that in the other place? And again, also with the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, whenever he is doing rallies. But now we have switched from Gachagua. We are now at Sifuna. So I just want to hear your submissions around the whole issue of politics and what we are expecting to see after this. And I don't know whether to start with my people on the Google platform. Let me start with the people on the Google so that now we can come back to the studio. But I just want a contribution of 1 minute each because of time. So let me start with Edwin Shamir. Shamir, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Triciah. I don't have much to say about this. I think Ruto have decided to sell Sifuna for the Wananchi, because if you have two factions of ODM and you decide that the only other faction is the one which you are going to throw tear gas in each and every meeting they are going to have. So ideally, politically, the message you are sending to the general public is that the Sifuna is a force. It's a force to reckon on your re-election come 2027. Another thing, if you hear well what Sifuna is talking about and what Baba signed, the 10-point agenda, NADCO report, and also you come back to the likes of Wanga, Oburu. Before, when you are starting this conversation, I heard you playing the sound of Gladys Wanga, and she's really talking about the 10-point agenda, extrajudicial killings, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. But the same Wanga cannot condemn when the president is tear gassing the opponent, the proponents of the people on the other side of ODM. The same Wanga has not come out as the chairperson of ODM, the ODM of broad-based. You know, now we have two ODMs, and we need to be very categorical when we are talking about ODM. There's ODM of broad-based, and there's ODM of against broad-based, or I call it ODM of Wananchi. So Wanga is telling us that she agrees with everything which ODM and Baba sign. But at the same time, she's telling us that this is not the right time, Ruto, to defend those things, because how do you tell us that we protect the agenda of Baba? And at the same time, your boss, who is Ruto, tear-gassing people, and you don't talk about it. Another thing, the Kilifi MOU was very specific. They are going to allow ODM to initiate talks with all political parties. To ODM of broad-based, all political parties to them is UDA, but not other parties. But to Sifuna, they are saying all these political parties. And Sifuna is basing his argument based on the MOU which was signed in Kilifi in his absence. And he has come out to articulate those issues better than those people who are in that boardroom who signed that MOU. So ideally what we are saying that I think the broad-based of ODM should just realize that they don't have people. Last point, Tricia, is this. I think people are talking about Sifuna. You know, and this is my 2 cent opinion. Sifuna has gotten a rented wave. Why am I saying, or why am I calling it a rented? Because this is not a wave for Sifuna. This is a wave of the high cost of living. This is a wave of police brutality. This is a wave of social justice. This is a wave of the devolution. This is a wave of constitutionalism. So anyone, even Kibwana, if he rise up and he agreed that I'm going to die for this wave, then automatically we will shift to Sifuna, to Kivutha Kibwana, and tomorrow you will see Kivutha calling us in Makwenda. All of us will go there, and in fact we will deal with goons ruthlessly, the same way those people dealt with goons in Kakamega. So people are with Sifuna. Sifuna is speaking their language. Remember, these people are very desperate. They don't know what to do. They are from 2024. They didn't have a leader, and they realize how lack of having a leader costed them. So right now, I think they have woken up. They have propelled Sifuna to go ahead so that he can make way for them, so that they can get what they have been demanding. I really want to request our dearly respected father in the studio, Kivutha Kibwana, kindly stand with your sons, protect the devolution, protect the constitutionalism, which Ruto have clearly shown citizens that he is not ready to adhere to the constitution of 2010. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shamir, for your submission. Let me have George. George, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Thank you.
Yes, 1 minute, please, sir.
Okay, thank you. First of all, there was the 2 rallies that were taking place at the same time. So what we have seen now is what we are thinking about it. Let's get back there when Baba was alive. These are a legacy that he built for more than 20 years. But for instance, he wakes up like now. He just need to go back to sleep to see what he has been doing or how it has become. So how did we end up? We have 2 ODM. It's now there's a generational change. The older are not giving the youths time to rule. For instance, when Baba was alive, Baba was saying, after Baba, ni Baba. So these guys, they started wanted to take power even before they have gotten the blessings. So that's where all the problems started. Let's talk about what happened today in Kakamega. What happened when people gather? There's a freedom of expression, assemble. I don't support that. It's totally wrong. They're supposed to do their thing and they finish. I don't know why our leaders haven't understand that. When you start fighting your opponent, you really build them. So right now, we have Sifuna and Baba. Everybody's talking about them. But the only problem is coming is not Sifuna, he's the head of people or the crowd. The crowd just wants somebody who is opposing the president. I'm together. That's what they want. So it's not that these guys, like 2 months ago, everybody was crowning Didi Nyoro is the best presidential figure, is what, because he's speaking what not president is saying. Now my problem becomes, why is it everybody is posing William Samoei Ruto? Are we together? So after all this, what have diversion they are coming, why is everybody condemning the president? The president has only 3 years in service, only 3 years. Look at about layers that we have built. There are so many things that were done by the Kibaki era, Uhuru era, and we categorize them under 10 years of their leadership. But now, William is being condemned by 3 years. Now, let's forget about William Ruto. Let's get back here to our brother Sifuna. Sifuna, what he wants with Babu is charge of ODM. Where we differ with Sifuna is the one who wrote the 10-point agenda. Then the first point agenda was the compensation of the Gens who were killed. By that time, he was writing those agenda, he was all right with it. But until Baba left, now he's saying if William Ruto is compensate those people, then we kill his child and then we compensate him. That's where we differ. The only problem is happening here is about political future. Everybody is fighting for his future space in Kenya. And it's good we understand that it's good to give our senior citizens, Mr. Kibwana there, it's good we have a very clear dialogue as father as children to make them understand that and nurture them in a certain way. We don't have these conflicts going around. But right now, ODM is on a very big menace. And the menace that we are having right now is not that Uburu is not wrong, Sifuna is not wrong. The problem is about who want to own the party. That's where the problem is. And it's good to understand that the two parties, they need to sit down, settle their manner they're supposed to do. I think they have an agreement of 4 years, 3 years, 2.5 years with the government. So they go back to the bedroom where they decided and sort the issues. But I record them about this action that's been taken place of fighting and use of guns in this era. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you. Please make it 1 minute. Okite, you're online now.
Thank you. The two factions of ODM are split on very simple premises. One team is hell-bent that Ruto is the safe haven, and therefore they need to go over. The other team is saying that our agreement was based on something. And if we were to speak, I don't like the fact that both of them keep on referring to Raila Amolo Odinga, because now I really think, like, while we respect the place of Raila Amolo Odinga, it's important that now people begin thinking strategically without him, because he's not here to give us direction. I think what the two teams need to do is to sit down and ask ourselves, in the 10-point agenda that is supposed to expire in March, the national debt, was it published or not? And they just create a column of yes and no. The 10-point agenda is there. So the waste of public resources, yes or no? There was the question of integration of the youth in terms of having economic investments. Is there a yes or no answer? Leadership and integrity, was there yes or no answer? Implementation of NADCO report. So you have that 10-point agenda and you click yes, no, yes, no. If the yes is 70%, no is 30%, go ahead and support President Ruto. But let me say this. I think Sifuna's core team will survive only if they develop a long-term strategic plan. The people of this country have a very good history of cheering people. Even Professor Kibwana is here can attest the fact that people have told him to run for president. We've seen Maraga, we've seen Nokio Mtata, we've seen people cheer Morara before. So there's a whole lot of that dynamic. But strategy, then it becomes very problematic. Lastly, the rally in Sanya today, and as somebody who comes from Sanya, I saw everything else that was happening there. It was pathetic. There are characters that, if you are serious political organization, there are characters that you don't put in an audience. It will be very critical that the conventional ODM, the conservative, what I call the conservative ODM, they have to sit down and get their act together if they have to make a move that is going forward. Today, I even wrote and said that the conservative ODM must, in fact, even be prepared to disappoint President Ruto, just the same way they have been disappointed before, for them to survive politically in the future. That, for me, is what I think they should be able to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Okite. Actually, yeah, I saw the rally in Siaya, and I saw the CS Treasury say that people should not be worried because the voters, the real supporters of ODM are at home. Yeah, actually, that's something that I watched today as the rally continued. But let me just come back to the studio and also hear the submissions.
Can I make a comment in 30 seconds about that?
Okay. Go ahead.
The CS for finance is one of the most confused people ever. In his speech, he listed from the historical, from the time, from the independence. And I'm sorry to use the tribal claim here because that is what he used, so they allow me to use. He then demonstrated how Kikuyus, quote unquote, have been very instrumental in ensuring there is a president or denying who was the presidency. What he should be asking himself, if the Kikuyu factor is the main determinant of presidency, then they should be asking themselves, where are the Kikuyus today? And would it then not be wise to align to them? So I think CS Mbadi is making a very strategic mistake there, but it remains to be discussed another time.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Wacha tukuje kwa daktari. Daktari, umeona mirengo tofauti ya chama kimoja hichi cha ODM. Umesikia the conservatives na is it the Gen Z or what wa ODM. What is your submission around what's happening, especially with ODM?
Of course, there's a lot going on with ODM. We saw the rallies, and you put it well that it began with the demise of their leader, Raila Odinga. And even slightly before that, when he was going to AU, he chose to give the party leadership to Nyong'o.
Yes.
Who was not very excited about it, and actually a little bit ailing, and rejected Orengo. Because the rumors had it that Orengo was already working with Gachagua. And so Orengo was not happy. I remember there was, he contested because there were two of them. It was either to go to Orengo or Nyong'o. And that also answers the issue of those who are saying, why didn't it go to any deputy party leader? Why didn't they take over from Raila? When he went to AU, the president was, an outsider came. Yeah. But I think because of time, I just want to do a few sound bites. One, Sifuna was sleeping on a borrowed mattress. I come from a poor place where you borrow mattress, but once in a while the owner of the mattress come for their mattress. Because I ask myself, what is the end game? Yes, there's momentum, and there's a lot of momentum right now. He has charisma, and we have seen leaders with charisma, and we have seen this momentum. But what is the end game? It is arguable that the point of departure, of course, right now is building his own supporters instead of the party. And he's a Secretary General at a time when it is very hard, because we live in a generation which want you to be active on Twitter, be almost an activist, but sometimes as a Secretary General, it is hard to do that. We came and inherited a culture of activism, because people like Professor Kivutha Kibwana at the time had to be wild, defy the government. If the government say don't come to the street, they show up. And that was the only way this country was rescued. It was by defiance. It was by dissent. This country was not rescued, or our democracy was not built by cooperation with the government. It was built by defying the government. There is a lingering effect of that culture. That Kenyans have now adopted that mode. And whether we should fight the way Kivutha Kibwana fought and others, or we should now look at post-2010 constitution, and this generation is now called to fight a different fight, not necessarily by defiance, because now most of the things are actually in the constitution, isn't it? Including the right to picket. So one of the challenges that Sifuna encounter is flirting with the ODM-X. And the ODM-X outrightly is Uhuru Kenyatta. You saw him trying to revive Asimio, and ODM saying, you can keep it, we are not interested. You saw him apologizing to Uhuru Kenyatta about the bad manners he considered from some of the ODM leaders who did not, who have been criticizing him, isn't it? Kinawanga are out there criticizing him. Uhuru Kenyatta chana na sisi. So he apologized. Remember in the memorial for the 20 years of ODM, I read the love letter from Uhuru, calling him a founder. And remember the president was there. And so there was a discord, because I think the program was to highlight the president, Henry Kosgei, and I don't know, I don't want to revisit history, whether Uhuru Kenyatta was a founder member of ODM, but Sifuna showed up with a phone, read his message, and ambushed people. So truly there is difference. There is difference between the two, because if one is headed to Machakos, and another one is headed to Kisumu, there's no way you can be in the same vehicle at all. And so I don't think that it's a matter of mannerism. It's a matter of destination. And that's why I'm asking, what is Sifuna's end game? Is ODM struggling? Yes. Will it really settle very fast after the death of Honorable Raila? I don't think so. It will take a while. But at least they are telling Sifuna, you cannot be flirting with our ex and at the same time expect to be with us. And that is the crux of the matter. And I think that...
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Sifuna used to talk the way he's talking, even when Baba was still around.
Yeah.
Why didn't we see Baba expelling him from the seat?
Baba did not expel him. He didn't talk the way he was talking. He didn't call other leaders foolish when Baba was there. He did call them after Baba departed. He didn't... You know, we are at a different dispensation where everyone is now giving a version of the last words of Baba. And there's 10 versions of it. So to be honest, no, let us not be politically sounded and naive. All these things are done within political context. And that's why I'm calling it that ODM want to go this way. Sifuna is not interested in that direction. And so the rest then, the plot thickens and everyone is justifying. So the issue of whether Baba have sacked people from party before.
Yes.
Did you forget the men in black, Magerer? Did you forget Ababu na Mwamba or Ababu bila Mwamba? So the issue that Baba tolerated you or Baba will not have sacked you, those are poetry. And we like poetry. You know, in Africa, when people are alive, we lie to them. When they're dead, we lie for them. So don't take it too far. He will not have acted that way. Thank you.
Well, you've asked about the objective or where he's heading to. I've heard people say that probably we might see Sifuna being the deputy president of this country.
Sifuna, you know, people who come from Western and Nyanza adore charisma. But we ask ourselves, how far have charisma taken us? We are people, and like other places, we don't like boring politicians. And that's the challenge you see with the other side. So obviously, Sifuna has charisma, and we love charisma, and we loved charisma. But we can now talk of series of broken dreams with our charisma. And so people are having a buyer's remorse that is it all, should we just follow charisma or strategy? Because charisma, like even for Orengo, does not necessarily mean you have strategy. We are seeing that politics is much more than getting to the podium and being eloquent. Professor Kibwana succeeded in Makueni, even with the difficulty of majority of county assembly who wanted to bend his hands. Kibwana did not operate so much in terms of charisma, but clarity of vision. And so I think we cannot change strategy for charisma. So if you look at, for example, the region I come from, do you know that it's not coincident and it's not always that the interest of Luos is equal to the interest of ODM. There's a time that the two interests might conflict. For example, case in point, President Ruto decided to give ODM Minister Finance. Raila gives it to Oparanya. President Ruto tell him, no, it's not for ODM, I want a Luo. And so there is many layers to this problem. But I think for some of the regions that were base of ODM, they are tired of charisma, because we have followed charisma for so long, and they have failed us at crucial juncture, because charisma cannot count for strategy.
Okay.
Including Babu Owino, our son, who is very charismatic. Except the small issue where he shot a DJ and forgave himself. That was not very good.
Forgave himself?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your submission. Let's hear from Odimwengu.
Thank you. This is a very interesting topic. To me, I see a generation, of course, as I've said, I'm almost behind that generation, because we are a generation behind them, and there's a generation above us. But I'm seeing a generation that is trying to free themselves, but I'm not sure if they're really freeing themselves. That's one thing I'm not sure about. But it will be good if this generation could free itself from the traditional politics we've been having in this country. It could be good for this country. But again, the biggest problem that this generation finds itself through the help of the other generation that they want to free themselves from. So there's also some element of a connection here that you're trying to emancipate yourself from. And the reality is that process is not peaceful. It's not an easy journey, but it's a necessary journey. So we might have what you call a fake revolution. A fake revolution in the protest that you think that you are free, but you're not free. You end up in the same space whereby you're just still controlled. The future, as they say always, that lies in the hands of this generation, the younger generation, for example. But we must move beyond an idea and slogans. You see, in 2022, we did a mistake of voting on slogans. It was a hustler thing, and the hustler is the hustler. But again, sometimes the success of so-called revolutions only then can be examined by the impact after the process. So it's a possibility of even then the so-called generation of Sifuna actually becoming or winning presidency 2027, but the reality of the success will be on what happens after that. How does that lead to the transformation of the livelihood of the people? You see, because today you realize that the majority of the so-called hustlers who are in the rallies of William Ruto might find themselves in this other side of the rallies today. They will be the majority in the Sifuna's rallies and the rest of the rallies. What tells you is that is what I'm afraid of. Sometimes we always go to election with desperation. And then desperation clouds our mind not to discuss ideas of what you want as a people. Because I think what I believe in as a young person who aspires for this political position is that the citizens have already enlisted in the constitution what they want. The articles of the Bill of Rights is basically what you want. The type of leadership is in all those articles from 72 on how you become a state officer. We know what we want. But we are treating a country as if the politician is the only person who knows what we want. And we vote based on what he tells us that he wants to give us. You know, that's very wrong direction. Because when you have some proper policies as a country in terms of the constitution on where you should go and what you should expect, you should not then start following persons in terms of what they promise. Because these promises, and I remember UD was saying that, and then our manifesto should be considered as law, and when you implement it, you should not challenge it in any court. So by the virtue that citizens vote for it, that's now public participation to make it constitutional. That's not a thinking that we need as a country. Because sometimes rather than the implementation framework is something different. Now to Babu and Sifuna, I'll say that because the young people join ODM in the process when ODM is already in the streets. So they find ODM in the struggles. There's an older generation that are tired of going to the street. And there's a younger generation that is more of energetic to go to the street. But what must be considered here is what the end goal. Because strategies might be different, but what goal are we going to achieve in this process? And if that's what I'm afraid of. Even the element of them being deputy to somebody, I'm afraid of. If they could go, and if they could believe themselves that they can go to the ballot as presidents and whatever, and make a change to be the next leaders, I could easily start understanding that. But if they, because I'm asking myself, if Babu says he wants to be governor of Nairobi, what is he doing in Kakamega? Is he trying to mobilize the people from Kakamega to come vote for him in Nairobi? What is Sifuna trying to do in Kajiado and the rest, you see? And you must realize that in their rallies, it's not that I'm being biased. That side of Sifuna don't talk of ODM. They talk of what they have. Them as persons. Individuals that go to the rally and say 1, 2, 3. They don't talk of ODM. You see? The other side, of course, talks of what they call the 10-point agenda. And I think even the 10-point agenda is a pretense of a wake-up call. Because why were they talking of 10-point agendas back then? They didn't talk, Iwanga couldn't talk about 10-point agenda. Until now, they now try to pretend of 10-point agenda. When we know it's very late even to implement anything, that 10-point agenda. So, as we treat the country in all this discourse, as people try to move around in terms of emotions and political, what you call political popularity. And we must know that Kenya's political popularity is very short term. It's very short term. They can move you very up and then leave you there within the next minute. So strategies and policies and issues must be part of the conversation. Not must go chants or not one-time chant or not whatever chant. Because those chants are there. But if you don't have proper alternatives that now be part of our conversation, then we are treating people to sloganeering campaign. Then when we get the change we desire, then we have nothing to do. We just stuck there because there is nothing we prepared structurally or strategically to implement for the people.
So, Pigeon, do you think the young people were short-changed to come out from the streets with a 10-point agenda?
10-point agenda is not young people's agenda, and I'll tell you clearly. They have taken advantage of all these issues all along. They came with their BBI, it was people's BBI. They came with their NADCO, it was their people's NADCO. We go to street for Unga na Maisha, then Kalonzo sits somewhere here to come up with their NADCO report. Now we are in the street for Jinzin, then somebody sits somewhere to sign in Kilifi for 10-point agenda. You see, the biggest problem in the political space is that they always want to capture the citizens. When the citizens want to free themselves to come up with something, the politicians come with the solution. And the solution they try to pretend with is just to pass time to favor their political arithmetic so that it's not interfered. The system is organized to a manner that both the government and the opposition don't want interference at all. They don't want the people to be out of that system. So when we want to go out, we bring a point that is favorable. So the 10-point agenda, I'll tell you, it was not from the citizens. It's from the political class to try to at least bring the pressure down. The same time we came with the NEDCO report, it was trying to bring the pressure down. But the reality is that for how long will we try to treat citizens to these so-called temporary solutions just to cool them? Because it will reach a moment that we will no longer contain the citizens. But my fear is we may end up having another fake revolution. It might cost us a long period of time. It might cost us blood and everything else, but we end up with the same version of Ruto Part 2 in another government. So we are not in the competition of now changing names, but really, what do we want for the country? And irrespective of which name comes in, it is very clear that it's upon what you want as a country, and we are ready to defend what you want as a country. Then we don't have problem, whether it's Onyango, whether it's Kivutha, whether it's whoever. But the country must now move beyond politics of personalities to politics of issues that the country must define. That's what I think.
Thank you. Let's get to Professor so that he also gives us a submission around what is happening politically, the issue of ODM, the rallies, and where do you think we are heading?
Okay, first of all, let me congratulate you, because both the panelists who are in studio and out of studio, a lot of eloquence, and those young men are really, making me very proud. And we, are grateful for their clarity and for their comments and the way you structure this generation project. In terms of ODM, actually, one must appreciate that it is the party which has had a longer span, unlike NAC comes and after a short while it disappears. Even before KANU was sustained by one-partyism, but in the era of multipartyism, KANU, the founding party, disappears. PNU disappears. So from 2005, when ODM was formed, one must give credit to Baba. He carried it, for all this time until his departure. And so it will be sad to see ODM also following the path of these other parties, which have kind of gotten out of the scene. So even now with that, and it's actually something that is happening in Africa generally, because even ANC of South Africa, of Mandela, was struggling in the last elections, until now they have to partner with the Democratic Alliance, the party predominantly of the white person who used to be in charge of apartheid. Same in Angola, same in Mozambique, same in many of those countries where liberation parties or such parties, kind of are on the deathbed, so to speak, and have to use violence to be re-elected. CCM of Nyerere, here, our neighbor. So one hoped that actually ODM could continue to be that party which survives and which prospers, and which, even in terms of what it stands for, is a pro-people, entity. But now we see this contestation of the conservatives, and one could say the progressives, and I don't think that ODM will survive if there isn't accommodation of the Sifunas and the Babus. If there isn't accommodation of them, it will not survive. If they use their proximity to power to railroad, these people out of the party, so that they maintain the party, and so these young folk have to go out to exit and maybe find other, houses and so on. Then it means it will not be the ODM of before, and it will just now be like these other parties that have had a short life. And I don't know whether there will be the wisdom of Dr. Oburu, of Wanga, of Joe Paranya, Junet, and so on, to realize, and Mama Ida, to realize that without this young generation, which is inspiring followership of ODM, without accommodation, without recognition, actually indeed without the passing of leadership, a succession, which I'm sure even Baba, would have liked, although we have been told that there are many people who are saying Baba said this, Baba said that. And I don't want to say that Baba said, but it is logical for him to kind of hand over the baton to a younger generation. So I think that's the critical point I want to make, to say that if Dr. Oburu and so on don't realize that they have to pass the leadership of ODM to this new group, these younger people, if they don't do that, we will talk about ODM in the past. Like Kiro said, it will be left with a few people, even a few MPs and stuff like that. And I don't think the president, I think the president doesn't mind that, because what he's trying to do is to make sure that he can get some votes from particularly Luo Nyanza and Coast, where also ODM has had some following, and wherever ODM has had following. So if he gets votes which he didn't get in 2022, it's better for him. And later on, the leadership of ODM can pick the pieces, and the president will have accomplished what he wants strategically to accomplish. But I was wondering, Duncan Daktari, when you called Kenyatta an ex, but he supported Raila 2022, so he was so instrumental. So that's not an ex. That's somebody was with. So he was there trying to see whether Baba could be our president, but I think they were outmaneuvered. But I want to say this: after this kind of goof of trying to kick Sifuna out, and I think it must have happened because it was clear that he was not playing ball, and it's the same way that Gachagua was kicked out. So you do something, and the ramifications are something that you didn't anticipate. Maybe you have done something in a rush, and maybe you have been told, let's deal with these guys, and we control the damage as we move towards 2027. So Sifuna has benefited, and Babu, they have benefited actually unexpectedly, because if they were still in their positions and they were told, you are the ones who will take over, and that was massaged, maybe, some of what has happened would not happen. They would postpone their ambition. Same if Gachagua had stayed as a deputy president, maybe, a lot of what has happened wouldn't happen. But that's water under the bridge. Now, the thing, that is happening now with all these massive rallies is particularly the young people, the Gen Zs, after they were, kind of put down. They still have the hope. And so Sifuna, Babu, and so on, they are representative of this hope, this possibility, this future. And that's why the young people particularly are clinging onto them. So when they say, Sisi Ndo Sifuna and Ndo Babu and all that kind of stuff, they're just saying that we are seeing who can perhaps talk our language, look at our hopes. Maybe they can take us somewhere. So for one to kind of think that if you just get Sifuna out or those guys out, that dream and that hope is extinguished, I think that would be wrong. And even this idea of now tear gassing and so on, you make the thing bigger, because it is actually, even these guys, I'm sure sometimes they are surprised. How come there's all this following? They may not have quite expected it, but it is because these people, and you said it eloquently, they are saying that maybe this is the promise. But now, as it develops, I can foresee like this problem. I can foresee a problem of when you start something because you didn't anticipate it, and so you were not strategic in terms of when it would happen, because there was an ambush, and therefore you started on your way towards getting something new, something else. There is more time by 2027 for it to be extinguished. For these masters of politics, Kenyan politics, the tribal politics, the money politics, the politics of using government, the violence and so on, it becomes easier to really stop you on your tracks, unless you have real staying power by mobilizing, the country, so that, like when we used to say, unbogable, so that what you are doing is unbogable. So there is that. Two, even the other united opposition, like when there was Kitengela, they had something in Nairobi, because they are getting scared that these young people might take the show, And of course, even if, for example, Babu wanted support of some of those other guys in Nairobi and so on, eventually they might realize that now we have the power. Why do we have to support somebody else? And I think that's where you are going to say, is this a third force? Or is this united opposition B? There is A and there is B. And I think the young people had started even saying that we don't want to register. We are not seeing the hope. So now, if they realize that even this is another stream which will lead to maybe some of the people they don't like, they might just say, you have disappointed us. We thought there was something fresh that you are putting on the table. So there's a lot of, I would imagine, discussions, thinking, strategy, and all that kind of stuff. But I wish that the focus became more on what is it that will be done, like what the Gen Zs were saying. Fix the constitution, follow the constitution, fix corruption. We don't want impunity. They were very clear on some things that you do and Kenya changes. And that's why anytime there is like a move to make things very different, you have all these people talking your language and diluting your language and then incorporating you, and at the end, then people say, all these people are the same. All these people are politicians. So there's a lot of, I think, the responsibility of the Sifunas, of the Babus, of the is it Hamisi, of Ototsi, of whoever, and even Orengo. I hope Orengo will be able to really assist to show the pitfalls and all that, and for people to be strong and to stay strong, because otherwise, people sometimes, people bring you money and they're bringing you money and they're promising you this and that. But it is something exciting, and, one must watch with a lot of bated breath.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have like 8 minutes remaining, actually 7 minutes remaining. So one question, I saw you write on your X that Ruto might be the first president in Kenya to serve for just one term. And after that, if he's not careful, he might end up in some jail somewhere. I saw that. I think I saw that on your tweet.
I don't remember that, but since you have said it,
I think I did something like that. You're gonna say as you wind up. I also have a question for you. Now that we have like 3 months to the I think tonight memorial of Amani. Anniversary, anniversary of the Gen Z protest. With this kind of force that we are seeing with Sifuna, do you think there is anything that the country needs to worry about?
I think so. I think that Sifuna is probably propelling and eyeing that leadership that was not there, that Professor was talking about, and even my fellow panelist. He could easily become the face of that leadership and offer that leadership at that crucial juncture where they will be celebrating the memorial. And so I see that, and I think whoever has tuned them towards that, that is the end game. That you come, when I refer to President Uhuru as the X, of course because right now ODM are saying, the other ODM are saying, we don't want to work with you. So that's what I meant. But it appears that somebody has found a face of leadership for that Gen Z. But as somebody who teach, the revolution that is sustainable in my mind is the academic and the education, revolution through education. No destruction of things, not throwing things in the street, but when people learn and have knowledge, then they can use that knowledge to agitate. You saw what Kenyans did with the issue of World Bank when they called the World Bank. That to me is the kind, and that's why I was toiling with the idea of Kivutha. Kibwana started the defiance because it was necessary. Do we still need it? Must we still do things as defiance? But finally, my parting shot is, things are complicated in the sense that look at water. The water services is devolved, but water is still, as a resource, national. And so it's not that easy that this function is devolved and this is not devolved. When you look at agriculture is devolved, the policy are still at the national. And that is by the act. So you find that our constitution is not very tidy of separating things. But I think Sifuna for now has good momentum. And as young people, let people fall forward. I don't like this thing where Kenya are driving so hard in terms of age and generation. We are celebrating the death of Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson has remained Jesse Jackson because he has fought, he has been clear, and you don't find the young black saying, Jesse Jackson, you are old, Jesse Jackson, you are this. So I think that sometime we drive this age as the defining factor. Let it be around ideas and not just the calendars.
Thank you. You're parting short in just 30 seconds.
No, I know 2024, you say June, 2026 June is coming. But I think it must be very clear to us that the June 2024 was very different because we were on issue-based and because we were informed. And as he's saying, information is very important for any revolution because information will help us also to make informed choices. And the illusion of running away from information to political slogan is also appearing. And the politicians also see us as the best tool for advancing anything, which means we are here. But they must know that this generation is not an informed generation. So as much as we make any choice, we make choices that are informed. And that's what I wish to push forward. We are informed and ready to make informed choices.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me have the George, please, in 30 seconds, Okita pia in 30 seconds, because time yetu imeisha.
Thanks so much, Patricia. In my conclusion, first of all, I'd like to thank the governor for the good appreciation to the youth. I love that, to mentor the youth. So to my conclusion, when you see this young generation on Sifuna's side, they know they are the future of this country, but yet they have their seniors. Hii kitu, it's like kama mzazi ako na watoto wanawambia tumekomaa, we need our lad now, but mzee anawambia not yet. So what we need engagement is international dialogue, because right now nobody is living in ODM. Sifuna is saying the SG of ODM, and then in Siaya and Kisumu they are saying we are the ODM. So nobody is willing to leave this home.
Thank you.
So what we need is international dialogue.
Thank you, George. Okite.
Thank you. My parting shot.
Please, 30 seconds. Yes.
What the Sifuna faction is a strategy by which the brought to neutralize United Opposition.
We can't hear you well. Okita, we can't hear you well.
I'm saying my parting shot.
Okay, thank you. Since we can't hear you well, thank you. Asante sana for your contribution. Let's finalize with the professor as we wind up, because it's just 1 minute.
Okay. I can only say that for me, again, as I said earlier, that ODM without, these younger people will not be Baba's ODM at all. It will begin to kind of fizzle. But I would also advise this, younger generation, I'm calling them fresh young Turks, let them push, first of all, as like a third force. Let the United Opposition push. Let, the ODM of Obura push. Let, of course, the president and his group push. And we give that time. And we see, particularly the young people and the citizens, what they think is, the best kind of formation, and who can come together with who for the benefit of the citizens of Kenya. And we don't also have a situation where like there could be change and it is not change at all, as has happened, in our country and in many African countries. Because these young people, if at the end they realize that there isn't the change they thought was coming, then you end up with a very bloody situation.
Okay, so you were saying that the president might be the first president to serve one term.
Well, it's not just me, a lot of Kenyans are saying that. But again, is not a pushover. Yes. And at some point I told some of the United Opposition that, and they were not happy. But this is the guy who in 1992 saved Moi. He was very young. This is the same guy, 1997 again. He was very instrumental towards getting Moi to be re-elected. Again, in terms of the referendums of 2005, he was like leading, the group. Even he used to do a lot of work for, Uhuru, to get Uhuru re-elected. So that's why, like he said, the strategy to really deal with somebody who now has the instruments of power, he has the money, he has all that kind of stuff. That's why, there has to be real strategy and articulation of the issues, not just, saying one term, two term, or stuff like that.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. Thank you also for them that joined on our Google